My dear student friends, I am Dr. S. Kamalakanna, working as an Associate Professor in Annamalai University, Department of Horticulture, Faculty of Agriculture. And in this class, we are going to see about cooling systems used in greenhouse. So cooling refers to the process of reducing the temperature, and this can be achieved through two ways. The first way is through ventilation, and the second way is through shading. So under ventilation, we are having two different processes. The first way is natural ventilation and second way is forced ventilation. And in natural ventilation, we are having roof ventilation, side ventilation, roll-up side ventilation and retractable roof greenhouse. Under forced ventilation, we are again having two subsections. One is summer cooling system and next one is winter cooling system. And in the summer cooling system, we are having again two types. The first one is fan and pad system and the second one is fog cooling system. In the winter cooling system, we are having two types. The first one is convection tube cooling and the second one is HAF. The expansion is horizontal air flow cooling. And under shading, we are having three sections. One is shading with white paint, then external shading and internal shading. So this is the outline of the today's class, and now we will see what are all the things individually. So the first thing I have said is the ventilation. So in the ventilation I have said that there are two different types. One is natural ventilation, also called as passive ventilation, and the second one is forced ventilation, also called as active ventilation. So in the process of natural ventilation, I have again said there are four types. The first two types include the roof ventilation and the side ventilation. So in this pictorial representation of the greenhouse, you can see the roof ventilation at the top of the greenhouse. Right? You can see the side ventilation on the side of the greenhouse. Right? So in the greenhouse, the fresh air is usually coming through the end walls in which a ventilator or window or lower is provided. So through this window, we are getting into the air, and when the air gets heated up inside the greenhouse, the heated air usually moves upwards. So and it moves out through the roof ventilator when we are opening the ventilator. The cool air coming in also through the side ventilation, and the heat air usually moves out through the ridge ventilation or roof ventilation. So here we are seeing the different pictures of ridge ventilation. Then here we are seeing the side ventilation. Then again we are here seeing on the top ventilation can be completely open. Then comes the next type of natural ventilation, which is called as roll-up side ventilation. In this, we are having the sides open with the help of the shutter or a crank. So here is a candle. You can see this roller can be operated and it can be moved up or down. So by moving up this roller, we can close the side or we can open the sides. So whenever more heat is built up inside the greenhouse, we have open up the side ventilation, and whenever the cool temperatures prevail the outside environment, we have to close the sides. So this is called the roll-up side ventilation. Then comes the retractable roof greenhouse. So in this retractable roof greenhouse, this is operated similar to the screens which are falling in front of the cinema theatres. So usually in the 90s or 80s, in every theatre they will be operating a screen which will be moved upwards before showing a film with a different music. Right? Like that, in this greenhouse also, we can open up the top and we can expose the greenhouse to the sky, the plants to the sky. And by the way, we can reduce the temperature whenever there is a more heat build up inside the greenhouse. So now comes the next thing is the forced ventilation, which is also called as active ventilation. And in that the first type summer cooling system, and in that the first subdivision fan and pad type cooling system. In this fan and pad type cooling system, we have to fix exhaust fans on one side of the greenhouse and the cooling pads on the other side of the greenhouse. So now I will show the photographs of this exhaust fan and the cooling pads. So this is the cooling pad. So this cooling pad is made of cellulose material, and there will be a water source, and through this water source there will be a pump which will be operated, and the water will move up to the top of through a pipe, in which the water will be flowed along the pipe which is behind this screen, and the water will come down into this cooling pad and it will be wet. This is on the one side of the greenhouse, as I have shown already in the picture. On the other side of the greenhouse, you will be having this exhaust fan, which will be a big fan similar to the fans fixed in the kitchen, right? But a little bit modifications will be there. So in the kitchen, we are using the exhaust fan to move out the unwanted air during the cooking, right? So like that, whenever the air gets heated up inside the greenhouse, we have to move the air out, right? Whenever we are operating the exhaust fan, the air inside the greenhouse will move out, and new air will be coming out from the other end through this cooling pad which is wet. So the air will get cooled when it is moving inside the greenhouse. Now we will see the pictorial representation of this fan and pad cooling system. So one side we are having the exhaust fan on this side, and we are having the cooling pad on this side. So this is the cooling pad, the representation, and this side is the exhaust fan, right? So whenever the exhaust fan is operated, the heated air inside the greenhouse moves out, and the cool air from the other end of the greenhouse passes through this cooling pad, and it comes into the greenhouse and it makes the greenhouse cooler. Then the second one is the fog cooling system, in which we are using the foggers over the top of the plants or in the top of the greenhouse. So in the foggers, the water will be sprayed over the area in fine fog form, or you can say mist form, right? So through these fine droplets, the temperature will be reduced and the relative humidity of the area will be increased. So this foggers is also used for irrigation, right? So the advantage is that you can reduce the temperature, and you can also use it for irrigation purpose, and the water amount used will be less. The second one is the horizontal airflow fans. So in which we are fixing the fan horizontally. You can see in our the fans are fixed horizontally. So these fans are fixed inside the greenhouse for in every 15 meter. So one fan for every 15 meter, or depending upon the capacity of the fan or the motor of the fan. So whenever you are keeping this HAF, that is horizontal airflow fan, we will be achieving the horizontal airflow cooling. The air inside the greenhouse will be cooled. So next come the shading. So in the shading, the first one is we have to use the paint, right? So over the glass curves, right? In the top of the glazing material, we have to use a semi-permeable shading compound. Semi-permeable shading compound over the glazing material. So this material will be there over the greenhouse. Whenever there will be a rain or continuous rain, it will be washed away in due course, not in the single rain. In due course, it will be washed away. So we will be achieving the maximum light penetration during the summer. So the next one is the use of black polypropylene mesh. So here in this picture you can see the polypropylene mesh is covered over the greenhouse glazing material. So through this we can achieve from 30 to 92% shading depending upon the polypropylene material we are using. So it is available in different sizes. We can put order according to our greenhouse material, and we can cover the greenhouse with this shading material. And the last one of today is the shading, internal shading. So the internal shading is achieved through, again with the nets, not over the greenhouse but inside the greenhouse. You can see a dark net which is mostly in white color or green color depending upon the crops we are growing is used. By this, the temperature inside the greenhouse can be reduced. Okay. So to sum up, today we have seen about the cooling systems used in the greenhouse. So and the cooling systems is achieved through two major divisions. One is ventilation and the second one is shading. So under ventilation we are having natural ventilation and forced ventilation. So under shading we are having shading with white pen, external shading and internal shading. So thank you for listening my class, and in future we will be dealing with other topics.